And traveling there isn't like traveling here. It takes about 6.5 hours to go 100 miles, and that's on a horrible road. So yeah, I just want to share a little bit about that and then share one of the things that God taught me while I was there. While we were in Uganda, we went to Kampala, the capital city. We lived in the slums. We had a guard that would like watch our gate 24/7, so we were safe when we were sleeping. But when we'd go out, you'd see poverty everywhere. People would be sleeping in tin shacks, and a bunch of kids half-clothed with no shoes running down the streets. And then like the streets were horrible. And then there's like this gray-brown liquid that would flow down the sides, and it was just real gross. And it didn't smell too nice either. But while we were there, we did a lot of door-to-door evangelism. And that was amazing. Like, we got to talk to a lot of Muslims, and we just got to see amazing results. We did it with a Congolese church one day. We did it with this small random church. I don't remember their origin, but it was just amazing. And then we went to this church, and it was this young church. I can't remember where they were from, but they danced amazing. Like, they would dance and worship, and they're all about this high, so like I stood out above everyone. I had a great view of the dancing, and it was like in this small room about a little bigger than this stage, but with about 40 people in there, and like half of it, everyone was dancing on the worship team. And afterwards, they brought up this little kid, like a group of like their Sunday school, and they danced for us. And then afterwards, they had a dance group come up, and they danced, and it was just an amazing sight to see how people could worship with dance, and it was cool. And then after Kampala, we traveled north to Arua, to a trading town. And then this trading town is huge. Like, there's over 20 different languages. A lot of people have come because they were displaced by the many wars. Uganda and South Sudan were both ridden by the LRA, which is the Lord's Resistance Army. And they do the child slavery. And so during the past 20 years, a lot of people have come into Uganda once it reached peace. And so there's 20 languages in this small area with like hundreds of villages surrounding it. And so there, the first time we were there, we only spent one day before we traveled into a village called Koya. It was on the border of Congo and Uganda, and there's about 200 people that we got to pray for. We got to talk to the whole village, practically. And while we were there, we got to see amazing stuff. In Koya, we got to see the breakthrough in healing. During a kids group, we split up into 3 groups. 2 groups were doing Bible study with adults, and then there's about 100 kids with 4 of our team. And during that time, the leaders, actually it was all students that were leading this group, and they were out of ideas of stuff to do, and they're like, let's pray for the kids. And they're like, who has something they want prayer for? And everyone raised their hand. Either it was a headache, a stomach ache, or something wrong with their foot. And they prayed for a couple, and then they had the kids start praying for each other. And every single kid was healed of all their afflictions. So that was amazing. And then the next day, we did some door-to-door that day, and we went to a funeral. The day that we arrived, a man died. He fell out of the back of a truck. Like, they packed these trucks full with like 23 people, and it's like one of the small Toyotas filled with like bananas and cargo. And so this man was sitting in the back, and he fell, and he hit his head and died. And so at his funeral, the funeral lasted like a week, and everyone in the village would go there like every day and just pay the respects. And so it was like the 4th day after he died, and he was buried. And we went to this funeral, and there was about 200, like the whole village was there that day, and we got to pray for every single person that day. We got to see a man healed of a mental disorder, blindness, like a lady could see again, a lady could walk again, and abdomen and heart pain was healed. So that was amazing to see, and it was just cool to be a part of God doing something big in this village. Like, God has an amazing plan for that village. Like, while we were there, they just had a heart for the nations, and they wanted to see the nations changed. Like, they had questions about Egypt. It's like, why aren't missionaries going to Egypt? And we were like, it's a closed nation. It's like, missionaries still need to go to Egypt. And so, like, while we were there, we got to pour into them. And then while we were there, we realized that a large part of what we were going to be doing was just revealing the simple truth of the Bible. It's like the simple truth of what sin is. And like, they had so many questions and they were so hungry. Like this one guy, like he had no idea, but his question was, well, I'm growing opium and marijuana and I'm making a lot of money, but I'm getting all the money to the church. Is that still sinning? It's like, how do you answer that without being like, duh? But that was like the whole trip was just, it's like, these people didn't really know what was in their Bible. Only 3 people in the village had a Bible. And we were like the first white people to go and minister to this village. And so it was an amazing opportunity. After that, we spent 2 weeks in Arua doing door-to-door and just spending time with the base and the people there, and that was just an amazing time. One day we were prayer walking, and a bunch of ladies, there's a small market, they were selling peanuts and tomatoes and anchovies. Dried anchovies, they smell disgusting, but we went up and we were praying for them, and one lady got saved, and then I think another one got healed. I can't remember what of. But as we were talking, a bunch of us just started shelling peanuts with them and just having fun with them and laughing. And then this old lady, she was this huge lady, and she just started busted up laughing. And like, we didn't speak their language, even though the national language is English. They all speak their own language together. And so she was just laughing and talking, and our translator finally figured out what it was. And like, she was like, the Christians, they came and prayed for me. And she was like, I'm a Muslim. And that is just so funny. And like, she just had this joy about her. And so like, during the whole time we were there, we always got to talk to a couple Muslims. And that was just an amazing opportunity. Like, these Muslims aren't what you see like on the television. They're just culturally Muslim. They don't really know what the Quran says. They're Muslim because their parents were Muslim and their parents were Muslim. And it's a culture, it's a tradition. Kind of like some of the Christians there. And so while we were there, we got to talk to a lot of Muslims and just love them as Christ would love them. And it was just an amazing time. And then while we were there, we didn't plan on staying for the full 4 weeks. We were planning on going to South Sudan a lot sooner. But because there was another team from Germany in South Sudan and they wanted us to switch, we got delayed about a week, and then a week and a day. And because we got delayed, we met this man. His name was Tijak. He was a presidential advisor for South Sudan. And he had a house in Juba. And we were trying to go to Juba. The whole time we were there, we were trying to find a contact for a house, and we couldn't find anything cheaper than $50 a day for one person without food or transportation. And when you're traveling a lot, and the normal cost is about $10 per day per person, and that's with food and transportation, that is just huge, especially with 9 people. So it was like we really felt like God was telling us to go to Juba, but we just didn't have a place to go. But because we met Tijak and we were delayed so much, he had a house that he let us stay at while we were there. And so we traveled to South Sudan over, the first part was slightly paved and then the rest was dirt. And that was about a 6-hour drive. When we met with the people of the YWAM base in Ye, South Sudan, we were planning on being there for 3 weeks. They thought we were going to be there for 4, and they planned 2 villages and a refugee camp for us to go to for a week each, and then a week of ministry in Ye. And we only had 3 weeks. So we were like, we want to do all this, so let's do it in 3 weeks, and then we're going to go to Juba also, because now we have a house that we can go to. So the first 4 days we spent in a small village of Ben-Nori, and that was one of the harder places that we were at. There's a huge spiritual stronghold over that village. A lot of the young people saw Christianity as something you do once you got married and had your fun when you were younger. And so it was a really hard time of just trying to love these people and show them God's love, and that it wasn't just for older people when they're married. And while we were there, we got to make some bricks, which is, you saw, and luckily you saw in the video, that our girls were stomping in the mud, and that's what the bricks were made of, that mud. You pop it in like a square wooden form, and then they would dry it out in the sun, and they would burn it with a lot of, like they'd stack it in a pyramid and throw some wood under it and cure them that way. And that's what all their houses were made out of. And so we got to help make bricks that they were going to use to build a church. And so that was fun, and everyone was amazed that the girls were doing manual labor, because that's just something women didn't do. Men didn't cook and women didn't do like manual labor. And so while we were there, we the guys got to cook a couple times and shock the ladies, and the girls got to do some work and shock the men. So it was a really cool time of just like breaking the stereotypes of what men and women should look like. And so after that, after Minori, we went to Juba for 3 days. We traveled down it's like the worst road ever. Took us 6 hours, over 100 miles. We got a flat tire halfway down the road, and we didn't have a spare. And like he was trying to wave everyone down, and then everyone just like, poof. And then we saw some white people, and they were like, "We need help," and they were like, poof. And they totally sped up as soon as they saw us. So, but we finally made it to Juba. Juba is the capital of South Sudan. It's a huge growing city. There are no names on the streets, so the streets don't have names. So you kind of just have to be like, oh, there's a landmark, let's go over there. And so it's just crazy. But while we were there, we had no idea until the day before, but we got to meet the founder of Youth with a Mission, Lauren Cunningham. He came in for 6 hours to talk with the leaders of YWAM, South Sudan, and give them ideas and just help them just brainstorm on how to take back South Sudan for Christ. And it was just an amazing meeting. He talked for like 5 hours, and he had a food, and then because he didn't plan on eating, but because T-Jock was there and he's a presidential advisor, he was like, hey, delay this airplane for 40 minutes while our friend eats so he can catch the airplane. So this is the guy we were staying with, and it was just an amazing time. And then after that day, we spent 2 days with the NGO we went to last year called Confident Children Out of Conflict. And it was amazing. Like, once we got there, only half the girls were there. And so they rushed and like hugged us, and then we were looking around and seeing all the stuff that they had done. And while we were all in this small room, 9 of us and the lady that was giving us the tour, and then all the rest of the kids came. And they all just like jumped on us and hugged us, and like I couldn't move. There was just so many kids trying to hug us, and it was just an amazing time. Like, we just spent those 2 days just playing with them and talking with them and loving them. And like all the girls that were there last year were there this year. And these girls all had hard backgrounds. A couple of them were in prostitution, and a lot of them had been sexually abused in some way. And a lot of them had only one parent, and that parent was addicted to some form of substance, either alcohol or a narcotic. And so they had no home, and they would sleep on the streets or in the cemetery. But to see all of them back there, it was just amazing. Like, it filled everyone's heart with joy. And then there's even more kids, and you could see a heart change in all these girls. And so that time was just precious for Caleb and Helen and I, because we were there last year, and we just got to love these girls again. And then after that, we traveled back to Yei for a day. On that trip, we had a crazy driver. The drive that usually takes 6.5 hours took 3. And everyone was like, this is the seat, this bouncing like this the whole time. And that car you saw, it's a Land Rover, kind of. There's a bench in the front, and then there's 2 bench seats on the side of the walls, so you're facing someone the whole time. So you're staring at their face for 6 hours, 3 hours, whatever. And it's not the most comfortable ride, especially when the shocks are blown and there's no cushion on the seat. So during that time, I think I got a dislocated rib, and so that was not fun after that, but because we were sleeping on the ground for the rest of the time. But after that, we went to Wadupe, a village, and it was a beautiful village. Like, there was a guy from America that was living there. He had a plantation, kind of, and he was working with the people and showing them how to develop their community. And so, like, he had his house, he had a pet monkey, he had like 200 pineapple plants and a bunch of like sugar cane, and it was just a beautiful place. And while we were there, we spent a week there, and we got to minister to almost everyone. We did Bible studies, we did door-to-door, we did some practical work. We made more bricks there for another church, and then we also cleaned up a spring, a natural spring. And so while we were there, it was just really fun just to do practical work. That was the first time we did most of our time, our work in the village, with practical work. Most of it was talking to people and doing door-to-door. So being there and doing practical work was just another aspect. And so that was the trip, quickly. And God did so much through us. It was amazing just to see what God wanted to do and us being willing to step out of our comfort zone and be a part of that, just to see how God just was so excited to meet these people, to show them how much he loved them and how much he wanted to heal them physically, emotionally, and heal their nation. And so it was just an amazing opportunity. And yeah, there's no words to describe the feeling that you get when you see a person healed. You see God change their life forever. And to be a part of that. And yeah, we had 9 people, 6 students and 3 staff. But one of the biggest things that I realized was how important community was, how important family is. Like our team was amazing. Like, it was the best team anyone could wish for. We had 6 girls and 3 guys. And what God taught me was that you can grow more, you can grow closer to him because of who's around you. God has placed himself in every one of us, and because we are so different, we all represent a different aspect of God. And there is Jordan, she's engaged and she's getting married soon, but who she is, she's this innocent girl. She's 23 and she's just amazing. She loves children. But because of who God created her to be and the aspect that she represents of God, I was able to grow. Like, I could feel God's love through her, just being accepting of me and of who I am no matter what. Like, because of her, I can walk in who God created me to be more, because she accepted me for who I am. And that was just one of the many times the group ministered to each other, just by being ourselves, by being who God created us to be. And so that's my encouragement to you, is just be in a community and love each other how God created you to love each other. And I just want to thank you all so much for blessing me with letting me talk to you guys and supporting me financially and through prayer. Like, it's been such a blessing to be a part of your guys' church. Thank you so much.